What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. I hope you have had a Merry Christmas, and I hope your time with family and friends has been wonderful. Now, in today's episode, we are actually going to build a string for a recurve bow. So stick around, and I'm going to show you how to make one right after this. Now, if you shoot recurve bow, such as this one, at some point you're going to need to replace the string. Now, you can either buy one or you can make one yourself. Now, to think about making one yourself, it seems a little daunting at first, and you may think, what if I mess that up? It's really very simple. It's really very easy. And with a simple jig, you can make a Flemish twist string for your recurve bow. Now, the bow we're going to be making this for today is my American Archery Cheetah Hunter Special. The Cheetah Hunter Special. Now, this is an older bow, a 70s or 80s bow, but it's in really good shape. And I actually picked this up about 2 or 3 years ago, and this is the bow that actually got me into traditional archery. Now, I've made a couple of strings for this bow over the course of time since I've owned it, and it was time to make another one, so I figured why not show how I actually make the strings for my recurve bows. So that's the first thing you're going to need, of course, is a bow. So let's set this to the side, then I'm going to show you some of the tools and equipment you're going to need to actually make a Flemish twist string. Very simple, very easy. First and foremost, if you don't have one, you're going to need a string maker's jig. Now, this is a simple, easy to make jig. I think I made this one in an afternoon. Took me all of an hour to make the jig. Now, you can download these plans in PDF format. I'll see if I can find the link and post it in the description below. That way it's easy for you to find. Very simple, very easy. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but it is, once you get all the measurements marked out on your board, you can really go through really quickly and make your string, or actually put the jig together. And then once you start making your string, very simple, very easy. So again, these are PDF format plans you can download. I'll see if I can find them and post them in the links below. Next thing you're going to need is, of course, your string. Now, I use Dacron B50 because it's a strong material, but it does have a lot of stretch and give to it. It's not like a fast flight material. Again, the B50 is great. It comes pre-waxed, but you are going to need some string maker's wax. And I got to find that. What did I do with it? But anyway, and this comes in multiple colors. You can make a colored string any way you want to. I mean, you can do red and white. You can do black and red. Any color combination you can think of, they've got the string for this. Now, these come in 1 pound or 1/4 pound spools. Now, I buy the 1/4 pound spools. And if you're not mass producing strings, or you don't need to make them, for a lot of different people, you can actually get by with the 1/4 pound spools. These have lasted me the past 2 years, and you can see how much is still remaining on the roll. Now, you're wondering why they're in plastic bags. It's because they are wax coated strings, and I just like to keep them protected. You don't have to do this, but I do. It's just one of those little OCD things that I have about me. So you got your string out of the way. Next thing you're going to need is a good serving jig. Now, if you don't have a store-bought or a professional serving jig, don't worry. You don't really need to go out and spend the money for one, but you will need some serving material. And this comes in different thicknesses and different price ranges, different colors as well. So just do some searching. Really, when it comes to the thickness of your serving, that's going to be how well your knock actually fits onto the string. So if you got little small, narrow valley knocks, then a thinner serving string is going to do you just well. Now, what I was saying about the serving jig itself, you don't have to buy one of these. If you don't want to spend the money on one, you can actually make one. Now, this one, if it gets in focus, you can see I actually made this serving jig, and I've been using this one for the past 2 years that I've been making my strings, and it has worked perfectly. I might show you how to make one of these later on. It's really just a piece of bracket material, and you just put a little indentation there. You got to drill some holes in the center here. Actually, this one came pre-drilled. This is like a tie piece where you put, in construction where you're tying 2 pieces of lumber together. That's actually what this is. And then it's just a 3/8 bolt with a wing nut. Very simple to make, works perfectly. I have used this for making all of my servings on my strings until I bought this. And I don't know why I bought this. I really didn't need it, but I said, you know what? I want to try one of those just to see how it works. But again, don't need one. You're going to need also a ruler. I'll show you why this is important later. Once you get on down the line, you're going to need a good sharp knife, and you're going to need a set of string pliers, bow pliers, whatever you want to call these. You don't really need these. You can use needle nose to get away with what we're going to do with it when it comes to the serving. But again, these are really nice to have. If you don't have a set of these, go ahead and pick one up, especially if you're into archery or you're going to be doing any of your own bow or string maintenance. These come in really handy. So those are the basic tools that you're going to need to actually make your own Flemish twist string. So let me reposition the camera here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the jig we're going to be using, and then I'm going to show you how to put it all together. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, so hopefully you can see everything that I've got set up here ready to make the string. Now let's talk a little bit about this jig. Now this is just like I was saying before, this is a simple jig that has markings at 1-inch increments on the board itself. It's a 30-inch board, and then there's some 1-inch in, 1-inch down marks that you've got to put on here to actually put in your finishing nails. This is what's you're going to loop the string around as you're making your string. Your center dowel here, this is just a 1/4-inch dowel that I just threw off in the floor, so I'll have to go pick that up. But anyways, that center dowel, what you're going to do is, depending on the length of string you need to make, you're going to have to put that in your respective pinhole or dowel hole on the board itself. Now, my bow is a 58-inch bow, so to make a string that's going to be 3 to 4 inches shorter, what I have to do is actually put it on the 62 mark, and that's going to allow me the right length of string after I make my twists and make my loops to fit my bow perfectly, just the way I need it to. Now again, that's one of those things where you're gonna have to figure out what string length you're gonna need. See, the weird thing about this is that the bow we're gonna make the string for today is a 58-inch bow. My Samick Sage is a 62-inch bow. But that one pin works for making both sets of strings. I don't know how the math works out on that, but it actually does, so I don't argue with it. But again, you may have to do some trial and error, and you may waste a little material making your first string. And if you do, that's okay, because that's the fun of it, is learning the process. Now down here on the end, in 1/2-inch increments, you've actually got 20 finishing nails in a straight line, and then of course there's a measurement on this as well. That'll be in the plans. Hopefully I can find those and put those in here for you. But these are where you're going to make your loops and make your bundles of strings. So let me get my dowel, and I'm going to show you how to set this up. All right, sorry about that. So what we want to do is, based on the weight of this, you could get away with a 12 strand string, and 12 strands is simply this. You're going to take 6 strands of whatever color you're using. I'm using orange on one, and I'm going to use brown on the other. So I'm going to need 6 and 6 if I were to make a 12-strand string. I'm actually going to make a 14-strand, based on it being a 42-pound draw at 28 inches. I don't really think I need to go that strong, but again, that's one of those OCD things with me. That's how I build every string. I want to make sure that, again, it's kind of overbuilt or overmade, if you will. That way I don't have to worry about longevity of it and making sure that it is solid and strong enough for what I'm shooting. So again, you can start with either color you want to, but what we're going to do is we're going to come down to this end of the string jig first. Now, the pin that's closest to you here at the end, that's where we're actually going to start. So we're going to start with our brown. Now I'm going to tie off probably, 8 to 10 inches. It's hard to see this brown against this brown table, but I'm going to tie off about 8 to 10 inches of this right here on my first pin. I'm going to just loop that in. Now you want to save those pieces. That's why I tie it off a little long, because you're going to need that after you get your bowstring twisted together. So now I've got that tied on, and we're just going to start making our loops. Now the loop's going to go around the bottom pin. We're going to come up to our top pins up here, loop around. I have my dowel set on the string length that I'm going to need, which is at 62. I'm just going to wrap around it and come back around all the way down to the very end once again. Let me see if I can show you this. So what that's going to be, that is my first strand on my board. Now I want to do 7 of these. So what I'm going to do is loop around the very end, push that down. It doesn't have to be precise here, but you do want to make sure that it's as neat as you can possibly make it as you're going along. That way it saves you a lot of headache on the opposite side of the string build. All right, now we've come back down. That's our second loop, so I'm going to go to the second pin on the end of my board. And we're just going to continue around until we get 7 loops. And again, make sure that you're just pressing this down at the pins. Again, you don't have to be precise with this, but you do want it to be as neat as possible whenever you get to the end, because it's going to make this next process and making this string a lot easier. 6. This is going to be number 7. Number 7. Now I'm going to double check that because for some reason in my head the math is a little fuzzy for right now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now I have my 7 strands. You just want to pull this and set it to the side. You don't have to tie it off anywhere. All right, so now we've got that done. Now we want to just press down here on the end. You're going to take your razor knife. Quick tip, this may not be the sharpest knife in the world, but you do want to make sure that your razor knife is relatively sharp because you're going to have to cut through all of those strands at the end. Now don't pull the string off the board immediately. You want to leave it on there because you don't want it to get tangled and twisted up on you. Now what I do is I'll come up almost to the dowel pin here, and then I'll take my string maker's wax or string wax. It doesn't have to be string maker's. It can be really any wax because you're going to really knead it in there. And you can tell I've used this one a good bit. So just push it up, and I want to go up the string or the bundles of string up to about the dowel pin here. And what I'm going to do is just work some wax into the end of this string just like this. Now you want to be really generous with your wax at this point right here because this is going to be one of those places that you're not going to be able to apply wax to after you get your twists and your loops made on this string. So you want to really pay some attention to detail on this part of it, making sure that you are putting a fair amount of wax in there. And all you're doing, I'll show you this here in a second, is you're just taking your thumb and you're working that wax into the string. And once you're done, it should all stick together in one nice finished piece. And you can take your string off your jig. You want to go down to the other side here, just making sure, just takes just a few minutes to make sure that everything's just kind of, even together. It doesn't have to be perfect. And what I want to do is, like I did on the other side, I want to come up to about the length of this pin from down here. I'm actually good there. I'm going to take this string and I'll show you a little bit closer up what I was actually doing with the wax. Push that back out. And get it to push back out. It should be good. Okay, so pinch your string off really well. You want to make sure that you don't have any huge gaps in that. You can see there I had 1 or 2. Maybe right there's one as well. Okay. And all you're doing is you're taking that wax in your thumb and you're just pressing it into the string, just like that. You just want to be really generous with this on the ends. Again, like I was saying before, you're not going to be able to wax this later, so you want to make sure that you're doing it good now. And this is going to help you in your twisting process as well. So I think I'm happy with that. Now we're going to make the orange string, or the orange bundle of strings, and we're going to put it all together. So when you're done with this, just set it to the side and make your next bundle. And there you have it. As you can see by the string, how I'm actually looping around the pins and around the center dowel, all the way back down to my pins at the end there. So now I've got my 7 strands here. I'm gonna go back up to my pin and we're just gonna work that wax in again, making sure that we put enough in there. Again, be generous with the wax here because your ends are really important. These are what's gonna make your loops. You wanna make sure that they, really waxing helps condition the string. These already have a wax coating on them, but you wanna add that extra protection. It helps condition them, protects them, keeps the water and moisture out, especially if you're outside shooting and it's, I don't want to say that it's raining, but you're in a damp environment when you're actually shooting your bow. You want to protect as much as possible you can, not only with your bow, but with your string as well. So now we've got all of that waxed in there well. Okay. You can remove your string from your jig. Make sure that everything is uniform. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it as uniform as possible. Makes the process a lot easier on the other side. So I'm going to take about that much. Wax that out. Yep, I think we're good there. Now, there's all different kinds of ways to do a Flemish twist string. You don't need a jig. Jigs make it easy. There's endless loop. There's not only the Dacron B50-55 softer polyester material, which is what this this string is made out of. It's a polyester material. You can go with a fast flight type material, which is less stretch, but it is really harsh on the limb tips. So if you're using an older recurve bow like I have that we're making this string for, don't use a fast flight material on that because they're not reinforced limb tips and it will damage them. Okay, so now we've got both bundles made. Now I'm going to show you how to put it all together. So for this part, what we're going to do is take our ruler, which I told you we would need earlier on, and we're just going to measure up 9 to 10 inches. I usually go about 10 inches on this. You don't have to. You can go between 8 and 9. Again, there's so many different ways to do this. It's whatever works for you. That's the main thing, is to find a process that works for you. So we want to make sure that these tag ends or these bundle ends are even whenever you get ready to do this part of the process. And we're just going to lay it on the ruler there, measure up to 10, and that is going to be where we're going to start making our twist for this string. Now that you got that, you can set that to the side. Now use this dowel. You can secure this thing to the table, your string jig to the table, which is what I should have done, but I didn't do it for this one. Hopefully it won't wobble around too much. You want to be as precise as possible whenever you start making your twist for your string, because again, this is where the strength of this string is actually going to come from in this Flemish twist. So we're going to go wrap around the center peg here. We're going to come down and just wrap it around one of the pegs on the opposite end. And again, this makes the process a lot easier if you actually clamp this down to the table. But since I didn't, we're just gonna make do with what I've got set up right now. Now here's a key thing for this. This is gonna be a clockwise, counterclockwise twist. It sounds complicated, it's really very easy. So go ahead and make life easier on yourself before you even start to do your twist for your loop. Go ahead and take both bundles and just turn them counterclockwise in your fingers. Very simple. You want to start them out as a nice tight twist on that. Now you're twisting the bundles. Let me get that off of that. Clockwise. Now to do the counterclockwise part of the twist, you just counterclockwise over, twist again, counterclockwise over, twist again, counterclockwise over, and continue that process. Now you want to go for probably 1.5 to 2 inches, depending on how big the limb tips are that you're actually working with, or how big you want to make your loops for your limb tips. And you just continue this process on down. I think I'm going to go about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit further. I'm not sure. We'll check it here in just a second. Okay. So right now we're at 2 inches. I think I'm good with that. We might need to go a little bit further. No, I think we're good. This is going to be for the tip that's not going to be removed. You're going to have a larger loop on the other side that's actually going to be able to slide off the limb tip and slide down the limb of the bow, so you can actually put the string on or take the string off, or whenever you take the string off to store the bow, it'll just slide down the limb itself and it will be protected and not come off the bow. So I think I'm good there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to untwist everything on this side, take my loop out from here, and I'm still going to use this center peg that I've got on here. Now you can see right now the colors would be mixed if I just started making my twist clockwise, counterclockwise. So that's okay if you want to do that. There's no right or wrong way to match your colors. They don't even have to match for that matter. But I do, again, it's an OCD thing. So you just want to take just a minute, separate these, and you want to match your brown string to brown, orange string to orange, or whatever respective color you are using. So then, once we've got that, you want to kind of separate your two bundles here and just let them fall off to the side. And we're actually going to start our clockwise twist again. Again, take a few minutes on this side or just a few seconds on this side and make sure that your twists are really nice, tight, and uniform, because this is going to make a neater, stronger string once you get done. And again, if you clamp your jig down to the table, guess what? It actually helps in this process. Now, as you notice, we're going along here. You're just going to twist all the way to the end of your tapers. And that's one of the reasons why this jig is built the way that it is, because as you're wrapping your strings around, and once you cut everything loose, you'll notice that there's a natural step down with each string. And what that's going to do is, as we twist everything together here at the end, it's going to give you a really nice taper into the main string itself. And it's not going to be as bulky as what you're looking at up here at the base of the loop. So let's just continue on this process. And again, you want to take some time, make sure you're getting some good clockwise, counterclockwise turns in. And this string is going to try to twist up on itself as you go along. And it's okay. Now, if you get some little tag ends like this sticking up, don't fret about that too much. Those are really not going to affect the strength of the string. It's just a natural part of making this string in the way that we do. Again, you can trim those up, you can wax them down real heavy. Either way, they're not going to really affect the performance or the strength of the string once you're done. So now that we've got to the end here, we need to do the other side. But to keep this from twisting or untwisting as we switch to the other side to actually make the rest of the string, that's why I saved these little pieces whenever I was cutting them off the jig. What you want to do is take them, tie one in, and just cinch it down. It doesn't have to, don't put a knot in it, doesn't have to be super tight. You're just keeping that string from unraveling. So there we go. So there's your first loop, ready to go on your bow. But now we can't put it on there like that. We've got to finish out, I'm sorry, trying to get this in focus. We've actually got to finish out the other side to actually make this a Flemish twist string. Now, one thing that you're going to have to do, and I'm going to try to explain this process without having to reposition the camera, is whenever you take your string off your jig, let's see if I can show you this. As you're doing your twist, what's happening is you're twisting that string up. It's starting to get tighter and shorter, tighter and shorter. Now to go back, if you just left it the way it was, you would still be able to make the string on the other side. But to make it a more neat, uniform string, what you want to do is attach this back to your pin there, and you want to turn these strands of strings. That's a tongue twister. You want to get them back out straight. This is going to help it on the other side. Trust me, I've not done this before, and it's made some pretty nasty looking strings. So get this straight. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to twist this back out to where the strands don't look twisted. They look like they're running parallel to each other, just down the length of the string, which is going to be counterintuitive when I tell you what I'm fixing to tell you next. So I've got all of that untwisted, looking good. String is straightened back out. Now, because you're going to be doing counterclockwise and counterclockwise twists on the other side to make the other loop, to make this uniform, what you want to do is we're going to stretch this out, and I'm not going to reposition the camera, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take each bundle of string and I'm going to twist 20 turns clockwise, because when we take this to the other side and we turn it clockwise on this side, it's going to actually loosen that string up, or take those twists out and smooth that string out and make it a very nice smooth design. And it's actually going to help with the process and keep your string from twisting up terribly as you're trying to make your other loop. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I will continue the process. And while I do that, I'll stop the camera. I could leave it running. So again, just take it, doesn't have to be precise. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're going to do the other with the orange string. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, so now we've got everything twisted out. And as you twist it out, you want to come in and check your length on your ends. These don't have to be perfect, but you want them to match as close as possible. I think I'm good right there with that. So with that being said, let me switch over to here. And again, we're going to take our measurement. You want this side to match that side. That one's a little bit longer, so what I'm going to do is actually twist that brown just a little bit more to bring it into about the same length as my orange string. Again, you don't have to put a lot of twist in this to even everything up. Just a few twists are actually going to make the world of difference in the length of that string. And I think I'm good right there. Stretch it out. Yep, I am good right there. Okay, so just set that to the side. You can actually take this piece, put it over there. So now I'm good. I'm evened up. I'm ready to make the remainder of my string. We're going to measure up 10 inches like we did last time. Take your measurement there. Just loop around down to one of the pegs here. Okay, now we're going to start our clockwise, counterclockwise turns. Like I said, take a few minutes on this part of it here, or a few seconds, and make sure that it's really, you start it the right way, you start it neat, because again, it makes a big difference in your string and how well it's put together, how well it fits the limb tip. And we're just going to twist it in together. Clockwise, counterclockwise. Now this loop is going to be just a little bit bigger because this is going to be the one that's going to slide up and down the limb as you string your bow up or you take your bow down for storage. So we went 2 inches on the last one, probably going to go about 2.5 on this one. That should give me about what I want. This looks more like a 3-inch twist right now. Yep, we're at a 3-inch twist, so I think we're good there. Now you can see the difference in the size from the last loop we actually made. So I think I'm good with that. I'm going to pinch that off, take the loop out here, come back around. I'm going to loop that over the edge. And we're going to separate our colors once again. Like I stated earlier, you don't really have to do this part, but I do because it makes it more of a uniform twist. Twist everything up again. I hate to stress this again, but make sure that you're taking a few extra seconds here just to make sure that you got you're off to a good start. And you start your clockwise, your counterclockwise twists. Now the step where I straighten the string and then put the twists in it to begin with, you don't really have to do that. I just find that it makes a neater string once you're done with the process. It just looks more uniform. It looks very neat, looks very clean. And then next time I will clamp this down to the table. So if you can possibly clamp it to the table, it will help you in the long run. And just take a few minutes to check and make sure everything is still looking nice here. Make your twists. Continue on the process. See, if this board is secure, it makes this process a lot easier. And as you're going along, just take a few minutes and kind of straighten out your string here. It just makes it, really don't need to. I mean, it's going to twist itself out in the end, but it just helps as you're making your twists here. And actually, when we put this on the bow, what you're going to see is that it's going to pull very tight anyways. So, okay. Coming to the end here, getting to our tag ends. Again, these little tag ends that stick out, don't worry so much about those. I mean, I've made a bunch of strings, and the problem is I can never, sorry about that, I can never get the tag ends perfect. I don't think anybody can. So you want to come just a little bit past that, just to make sure you got all the actual staggers in there. And again, if you got something like this that's sticking up, you can trim that off later because it's not really going to affect the strength or stability of the string. And there we have it. So what I'm going to do is actually take this other tag in to keep this from twisting off, and we're going to tie that off. Again, you don't have to knot it, you just want it snug. Take it off, check your loop. I'm happy with that. I think we're going to be good with that. And there's your string. So now we're going to do a twist on this string, and I'm going to reposition the camera so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Give me just a second and I'll have that set up, and we'll get the finishing touches on your Flemish Twist string. All right, so now we're at the final step of our string. Now this part here, you can do either way you want to. You can put this loop on the peg, and of course if it's secured. If it's not, you're going to pull it across the table. And what we want to do is we want to twist into the twists. Does that make sense? So you're twisting into the direction of the twists. And as you can see, the string is starting to twist up as you twist it on down. Put a fair amount of twist in this to begin with. This is going to pull everything into shape, and then we're going to put it on the bow, string the bow up, and we're actually going to see. Now as you twist into that, that's what gives that strength. So it doesn't unravel, it doesn't pull itself apart. It's actually, the tension is actually pulling it into itself, and that is what's creating the strength of that bowstring. And with those 14 strands, what that's actually going to do is create a bowstring that is very, very, very strong and will last you for a while, depending on how much shooting you do, of course. So let's put this on the bow, let's string it up, and let's see what it looks like. As you can see, I made that loop so this will slide down the limb of the bow relatively easy. That could have been a little bit bigger, but I'm okay with that. Again, it's just a personal preference thing with you. As you're putting everything in there, you want to make sure that your string is actually seating in the grooves on the limb tips there. You can see that really well there. So that's a nice fit in there. So let's put it on let's get my stringer tool and let's get this strung up. Now, I've actually seen a lot of people, step through the limbs. And some people say that's okay. It's not, it's not going to affect your bow, or it's not going to damage the limbs. I've done it for years, whatever. If you've got a stringer tool, please use it. It's a lot safer and it's a lot less stress on your bow limbs. And that way it makes it a very neat, easy process. And there we go. And there is your Flemish Twist bowstring. Very simple, very easy. Just a few simple tools, a homemade jig, and some store-bought string, and you can make your own twist string. Now I'm going to show you another step in this that we need to do before we put the serving on. Serving's another thing. There's a process for that. I may make that another video, but I want to finish this one out and show you what I do to actually wax the string. And again, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. So what I want to do, if I can get this tag end off here, is actually show you what I do to the string. Okay. Now I don't have a bow stand, so I'm going to have to do this in my lap, so forgive me. You want to take your wax again, and you just want to put some wax all over this string. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. I just put the wax on in a haphazard fashion. I just make sure that I get as much on there as I possibly can. Too much is not enough. And if you're, shooting regularly, wax your bowstrings at least once a week. That way, it keeps them protected. Again, it helps to seal out all the moisture and all the crap that could get in the fibers of the strings. Okay. Now, once I've got the wax on there, what I'll do is I'll take a piece of leather like you see here. This is actually some old work gloves that I had. I don't use them anymore, so I cut the fingers out of them for this purpose. Now, what you want to do after you've got the wax coated on your string, just take and work that wax into the string. Now, this is before you're going to put the serving on because this is going to be the only time you're going to be able to get that wax in that string area that your serving is going to be on. And the heat from this is actually melting that wax down a little bit and helping it to get into the string itself. Again, don't be afraid to use too much wax on here. More is never too much. And there you have it. String is waxed, ready for serving. It's actually in the limb tips, very nice, fits well. Nice loop on this side to be able to take the string down, whenever you're ready to store it after shooting. Now, the next thing is going to be brace height. Don't worry too much about brace height right now because this string is going to stretch. Dacron B50 and B55 stretches a lot. It's not a fast flight material. So as you shoot, you're actually going to stretch this and you're going to be taking this string off more than a few times to actually twist it down to get back to the proper brace height. But to measure your brace height, it's a very simple and easy process, but you will need a bow square for that. Now, a bow square is a very simple tool that you can pick up from any archery supply place or any place that does sporting goods that has an archery section. This is just an Easton. I think I paid 11 or 15 bucks for this, maybe at one of the big box stores, just because I needed it. But again, this is a very useful tool. If you don't have one, please pick one up. This is going to help you not only if you're a recurve shooter, but a compound shooter as well. because it's going to be, you're going to use this to set knocking points, check brace heights, and do other different measurements. Now there's a couple of different schools of thought on the brace height for where you're going to find that number. There are those that measure to the deepest part of the handle here, this area here, and then there are those that measure just to the back of the riser shelf itself. For today, we're going to go right to the deepest part of the well here, and I'm going to try to get that at 8 inches. And as you can see, I hope you can see that. I don't know if you can or not. But right there, we're just a little under 8 inches for the brace height on this bow. So I'm going to go ahead and take the string off, and we're going to bring that brace height up, and then you're ready to serve your string. Well, there you have it. That is how I make my Flemish Twist bowstrings. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. There's a lot of different techniques that people use. I mean, if you're on YouTube, you can find just about anything that tickles your fancy when it comes to how I do XYZ. For me, that's what works. Again, a very simple jig, very easy to make, very easy to build. I'll try to find the link to the PDF plans that I actually downloaded to build that jig. If not, let me just take a picture of it and post it here. I have no idea. But anyways, again, getting into string making, you can be as crazy or wild with your colors as you want to be. I've even seen people do 3 color strands. For me, that's just a little bit overkill, but again, that's my personal preference. Again, for the color scheme that I made for this string, this brown and this orange, that actually works really nice with this bow. I actually done a green and orange before and I didn't like it as well, but this brown and orange looks really nice. The only thing next we're going to do is we're going to get the string serving on, which will be in the next video, and then we're going to install some silencers. Now silencers, you can spend a lot of money on stuff like that. Buy yarn at Walmart, as a matter of fact. This right here, $1.50. This will make as many silencers as you possibly could need. But again, if you're target shooting, you don't really need to silence out your strings that much. I mean, who cares if it's a little loud, right? Because again, you're not hunting, you're not having to be as whisper quiet as possible. But again, this string is going to stretch over time. So there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it right now. And that's one of the key things too. I hate to ramble, but once we get the serving on, we're not going to put a knocking point on this. We're going to get a general idea of where the knocking point needs to be. And then we're going to shoot it and cycle through it about 50, 60, 70 times. That gives me enough stretch in this string and gives it enough time to settle to where I can actually start figuring out where exactly I'm going to affix that knock point and tie it in and leave it. But until then, don't put on a knock point because this string is actually going to change because of its stretching and settling. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that, it inspired you maybe to go out and build your own string or make your own string rather. And hopefully you can come up with some custom creations for your bows and just get the satisfaction and pride of knowing that you actually did something in a DIY spirit that is something that you're going to be needing in this field of archery. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. And like I said at the beginning, I hope you had a Merry Christmas. I hope you and your families are safe. Thank you for watching. And if you like the content, before I get out of here, please subscribe to my channel and hit the thumbs up down there, hit the like, add it to your favorite videos too. That way you can come back and watch it anytime you want to. So thank you so much. I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. And upcoming next, we're going to be doing the serving for this string. So look for that video to come out next, the serving and the silencers. And then we're going to take a few test shots with it. And I've also got a new video that's going to be coming up soon for a new bow that I just got that I have been so waiting for. It's the Southwestern Archery 64-inch Ghost Takedown Longbow. So look for that video to come as well. So again, thank you so much for coming by. Merry Christmas to you and yours. I hope you have a great day, a better day tomorrow, and a wonderful week ahead of you. And until next time.